Silence is a tool, not a weakness. In a world where constant communication is seen as a measure of success and influence, silence is often misunderstood. People who choose to speak less or remain quiet are sometimes viewed as passive or lacking in personality. The truth, however, is that silence is far from weakness. It is one of the most powerful tools at your disposal. When we speak, we often do so to fill a space, to create some sort of connection, or to share our thoughts with the world. And while communication is vital, it is equally important to recognize that speaking without purpose or clarity dilutes our effectiveness. Silence, on the other hand, allows us to refine our thoughts, observe the situation around us, and gather the energy needed to respond with intention. In the yogic tradition, silence is seen as a space of immense power. It is not the absence of sound, but a presence that allows you to connect more deeply with your inner self and the world around you. It is in this space that true wisdom arises. When you are silent, you are not devoid of strength or character. Rather, you are accessing a depth of understanding and awareness that cannot be obtained through words alone. Many of the world's most impactful individuals are known for their ability to speak with intention, choosing their words carefully. They understand that each word carries weight, and when they speak, their words are infused with clarity and purpose. They don't fill the air with empty chatter. Instead, they reserve their words for moments that truly require them. This level of restraint comes from an understanding that silence is a tool that can be wielded for greater impact. In contrast, those who speak constantly often dilute their influence. They become background noise in a world already overflowing with distractions. When words are spoken without thought or intention, they lose their power to affect change. This is why silence becomes such a potent tool. It forces you to be mindful of what you say and when you say it. It makes you aware of the energy you are releasing into the world and helps you harness that energy in ways that are both meaningful and effective. Silence is also deeply connected to inner strength. It takes courage to hold back from speaking, especially in a society that places so much value on verbal expression. The person who chooses silence over unnecessary words is someone who is grounded in their sense of self, someone who does not need to seek validation through speech. This inner strength is often misinterpreted as weakness by those who do not understand the power of restraint. But those who are truly in tune with themselves know that silence is not the absence of strength. It is the presence of it. In addition, silence allows us to listen to ourselves and to others. When we speak less, we make room for more meaningful conversations. Instead of filling the space with our own thoughts and opinions, we open ourselves to the perspectives of others. This creates a deeper connection, as listening is one of the most powerful forms of communication. When we listen deeply, we not only understand what others are saying, but we also gain insight into their emotions, their needs, and their desires. This is a critical skill, whether in personal relationships, business negotiations, or leadership. Moreover, silence allows us to observe the world around us with a clearer mind. In the noise of constant conversation, we often miss the subtle signals, the body language, the unspoken cues that reveal far more than words can. By remaining silent, we heighten our awareness and create space for a deeper understanding of the dynamics at play. Whether in a meeting, a social setting, or a moment of self-reflection, silence gives us the time and mental clarity to perceive things that would otherwise go unnoticed. It is also in silence that we find creativity. The mind, when allowed to rest in quietude, is free to wander and explore new ideas without the distractions of external chatter. Many great innovations and insights come during moments of silence, whether in meditation, nature walks, or simply sitting in stillness. The mind is a vast, untapped reservoir of potential, and silence is the key that unlocks its creative power. Choosing silence, then, is not about avoiding responsibility or refusing to communicate. It is about recognizing that words are not the only, or even the most important, form of communication. True strength lies in knowing when to speak and when to remain silent. The ability to speak less is not a sign of weakness, but of wisdom. It reflects a deep understanding that the impact of our words is far greater when they come from a place of intentional silence, clarity, and awareness. Speak only when your words can enhance the moment. In a world brimming with constant conversation, noise, and chatter, it's easy to forget the power of silence and the impact of speaking with purpose. Most people speak because they feel they need to fill the space, to keep up with the flow of social interaction, or simply to gain attention. However, speaking only when your words can truly enhance the moment is a principle that few embrace fully, yet it holds immense power in both personal and professional settings. When we speak without intention, our words become diluted, losing their ability to make a lasting impression. How often do we hear conversations where the words exchanged are irrelevant or trivial, where the noise fills the air but adds no value to the situation? In such instances, speaking becomes an automatic reaction rather than a conscious decision. But when we choose to speak only when our words can truly enhance the moment, we are ensuring that every sentence we utter carries weight and significance. Think of the moments in your life where someone's words have had a profound impact on you. Chances are, these were not moments where someone spoke aimlessly, but rather when they chose their words carefully with intention. Whether it was a simple piece of advice, a gesture of support, or a profound insight shared in the midst of a crisis, these words resonated because they were spoken with purpose. They enhanced the moment, creating a lasting impression that stayed with you long after the conversation ended. When we speak with intention, we elevate the quality of our communication. Words spoken from a place of purpose are much more likely to be remembered, understood, and appreciated. In contrast, speaking out of habit, insecurity, or the need to fill silence can often cause confusion or miscommunication. The clarity of intention brings focus to what is being said, allowing others to receive the message more effectively. Many people speak to be heard, but few speak to be understood. To truly enhance a moment, we must ask ourselves if our words will add clarity, deepen the connection, or provide insight. This requires self-awareness and the ability to pause before speaking. In a world that values quick responses and instant communication, taking a moment of silence before speaking may feel like a challenge, but it is in this pause that true wisdom arises. Silence before speaking gives us the opportunity to assess the situation and determine whether our words are truly needed. Is the moment calling for our input? Are we speaking to solve a problem, offer support, or provide perspective? If not, it might be better to remain silent, for silence, when embraced, often enhances situations far more than needless words. When we speak only when necessary, we also learn to value listening. Listening is an integral part of meaningful communication. Often people speak more than they listen, thinking that speaking is the only way to participate in a conversation. However, true contribution often lies in our ability to listen deeply, to absorb the information being shared, and to respond thoughtfully. Speaking only when our words can enhance the moment forces us to listen more closely, to understand the needs of the situation, and to respond in a way that is truly helpful. In business, the value of speaking only when words can enhance the moment is even more apparent. Leaders who speak only when their words carry weight are respected for their thoughtfulness and clarity. Their messages are more impactful because they are not distracted by irrelevant chatter. When leaders choose their words with care, they inspire confidence and trust, showing that they are thoughtful decision makers who understand the power of communication. Similarly, in relationships, speaking with intention can build deeper connections. It's easy to get caught up in the noise of daily life, to speak without considering the impact of our words. However, when we take the time to think before we speak, we show respect for the other person's time and emotions. We create space for meaningful conversations where both parties feel heard and understood. In this way, speaking only when our words can enhance the moment fosters trust and intimacy in our relationships. There is also an aspect of discipline in choosing to speak less. It requires self-control to hold back from commenting on everything, from offering an opinion on every subject, or from engaging in idle gossip. But this restraint is a reflection of personal growth. The more we practice the art of speaking only when our words can enhance the moment, the more we cultivate a sense of inner peace and clarity. Our conversations become intentional, and we are more likely to contribute to discussions in ways that add value rather than noise. Additionally, when we speak only when our words are necessary, we conserve our energy. Instead of expending mental and emotional energy on conversations that don't matter, we focus on those moments where we can make a meaningful impact. This ability to focus and direct our energy more effectively is one of the reasons why people who speak less often achieve more. They understand the value of their words and use them wisely. By conserving our energy and words for moments that truly matter, we are able to make a more significant impact in both our personal lives and in the world around us. Thus, speaking only when our words can enhance the moment is a principle rooted in mindfulness and awareness. It encourages us to be present, to listen more, and to speak with purpose. In doing so, we elevate the quality of our communication and deepen the connections we share with others. When we speak with intention, our words become more powerful, more meaningful, and ultimately more effective in achieving our goals. Observation creates mastery. Talking often destroys it. In the world we live in today, it's easy to mistake talking for action and noise for progress. Everywhere we look, people are constantly speaking, making their opinions known, and filling the air with words. The pace of life has become one of rapid communication, where everyone has something to say about everything. Yet, true mastery in any field does not come from incessant talking or even from seeking validation through speech. It comes from observation and the deep, silent understanding that only comes from listening and watching. When you observe, you are fully immersed in the present moment. You absorb the details, the subtleties that often go unnoticed by those caught in the rush of conversation. Mastery requires a deep connection to what is happening around you, whether in a conversation, in a business deal, in the act of creation, or in understanding yourself. Observation gives you the ability to see things as they are, without the clouding influence of opinion or assumption. It is in this stillness, this careful watching, that you begin to understand the dynamics at play and uncover truths that might otherwise remain hidden. However, when you speak too much, when your mind is constantly busy with words, you block out the opportunity to truly see. Speaking constantly pulls your attention outward, and the more you talk, the less you observe. There is a natural tendency for the mind to become attached to the sound of its own voice, to seek reassurance or control through words. But the more you fill your space with talk, the less you are present to the deeper currents of understanding that flow beneath the surface. Words often become a barrier, preventing you from seeing beyond the obvious and understanding the layers that lie beneath the surface of any situation. Mastery in any skill, whether it's in your career, in relationships, or in personal growth, requires you to move beyond superficial actions. It demands that you develop a deep awareness, that you are able to recognize patterns and understand the underlying forces that shape the circumstances around you. This comes from keen observation, from the ability to listen not just to what is being said, but to the silence between words, to the body language, to the emotions that are conveyed without a single word being spoken. When you talk too much, you forfeit the chance to gain this kind of awareness. In a practical sense, this principle holds true in many areas of life. Take the example of a leader in a business or community setting. A true leader doesn't speak constantly to assert authority or to be heard. Instead, they observe. They take in the dynamics of the team, the energy in the room, and the subtle cues that others may miss. They listen to what people say, but they also listen to what is left unsaid. This level of observation allows them to understand the needs of their team, to sense when a situation requires intervention, and when it needs to be allowed to unfold on its own. In contrast, a leader who talks too much risks losing touch with the pulse of the environment. They may miss important details or fail to recognize the shifts that occur when they are too wrapped up in their own voice. Similarly, in relationships, mastery comes not from speaking endlessly about one's feelings or opinions, but from observing the other person, their actions, their unspoken words, their energy. Communication is not just about exchanging information, it's about truly understanding the other person's perspective. Talking often clouds this process. It can fill the space with assumptions, judgments, or personal interpretations that may distort what is actually being communicated. Mastery in relationships comes when we listen to the unsaid, when we watch for the things that cannot be expressed in words. This is where true connection happens. Furthermore, mastery in personal development also requires the ability to observe oneself. Self-awareness does not come from talking about your thoughts and feelings, but from observing them quietly, from taking the time to reflect on your reactions, your emotions, and your internal state. The more we speak about ourselves, the more we become attached to our stories, our identities, and our egos. This attachment can cloud our ability to truly see ourselves for who we are without the filters of our past experiences and biases. The practice of quiet observation allows us to step back from the noise of the mind and gain clarity on our true nature. It gives us the space to recognize patterns in our behavior, to identify areas for growth, and to make conscious choices that align with our deepest values. At its core, observation fosters humility. When you are constantly talking, you place yourself at the center of the conversation, often creating an illusion of understanding or control. But when you take a step back and observe, you acknowledge that there is much you do not know. You open yourself to learning and growth. The more you observe, the more you realize that there is always more to learn, always more to understand. This attitude of humble observation leads to a deeper mastery of not only the world around you, but also of yourself. In contrast, constant talking often stems from a desire to prove oneself or to fill a space, and this can be detrimental. When you talk without purpose, when you speak to fill the void or to assert control, you are not allowing for the space necessary for true mastery. The person who speaks constantly often does so because they are afraid of silence, of the unknown, of not being heard. But the person who observes is comfortable with the silence, with the uncertainty. They trust that by remaining silent, they will gain more insight, more understanding, and ultimately more power. The art of observation requires patience, discipline, and a willingness to be present. The more you practice it, the more you will realize that the greatest power lies not in what you say, but in what you choose not to say, in what you choose to observe instead. Through this practice, you open the door to true mastery. Energy conserved in silence becomes focused action. In the rush of modern life, we often find ourselves caught in a perpetual cycle of activity, constant talking, constant doing, constantly moving from one task to the next. We are taught that in order to succeed, we must be busy, that the more we speak, the more we engage, the more we do, the more we will achieve. But this mindset, while widespread, is fundamentally flawed. True success is not found in the quantity of our actions or words, but in the quality of the energy we put forth. When we conserve our energy through silence and thoughtful restraint, we are able to channel it into focused, intentional action that is far more effective and impactful than any mindless or scattered effort. Silence is a powerful tool because it creates space. When we speak less and engage less in the constant noise of the world, we conserve our mental, emotional, and physical energy. Instead of dissipating our focus on meaningless distractions or empty chatter, we allow ourselves to become more attuned to the important aspects of our lives. This energy, which would have otherwise been scattered and diluted, becomes focused. The stillness that silence offers allows us to concentrate deeply on what truly matters. When you are in a state of silence, you are not passive. Silence is not the absence of action, but a space in which you can gather the strength and clarity needed to take purposeful steps forward. It is like gathering water into a container. Each drop of focus and energy you conserve in silence can be released at the perfect moment, directed towards a specific task or goal. In a world where distractions constantly pull us in multiple directions, the person who can practice silence and conserve their energy becomes a master of focus, directing their efforts with precision and power. This focused energy is incredibly potent. Imagine a bow and arrow. The archer pulls the string back with great care and attention. The longer the string is drawn, the more potential energy is stored within it. But if the archer were to release the string before fully drawing it back, the arrow would fall short. It is the energy conserved in that moment of stillness, before the release, that gives the arrow its true power. Similarly, when we practice silence, we create the space for our energy to build, to gather momentum. This energy, once released, can propel us forward with greater impact than any scattered or unfocused action. In the same way, silence allows us to act from a place of strength, not weakness. In moments of high stress or conflict, many people react impulsively, speaking or acting in ways that only escalate the situation. However, if we can pause and remain silent, we conserve our emotional energy. This energy, once preserved, can then be directed toward a thoughtful response rather than an impulsive reaction. The person who is able to remain calm and silent in the face of provocation is not weak. They are exercising control over their emotions and conserving their energy for the right moment. In the context of decision making, silence becomes an even more powerful tool. In many situations, we are bombarded with endless choices, suggestions, and opinions. The noise can be overwhelming, and in such circumstances, our energy becomes scattered, making it difficult to make clear, informed decisions. Silence allows us to step back from the noise and find clarity. It provides the mental space needed to weigh our options, understand the consequences of our choices, and make decisions that are aligned with our goals. The energy conserved in this silence becomes the focused clarity that guides us toward the best possible action. Silence is also an essential tool in cultivating deep self-awareness. When we are constantly speaking, thinking, or reacting, we rarely take the time to truly listen to ourselves. We are often too caught up in external noise to hear the quiet whispers of our inner wisdom. Silence allows us to connect with this wisdom, to observe our thoughts, feelings, and impulses without judgment or distraction. By conserving our energy in these moments, we give ourselves the opportunity to reflect, to understand our true desires and motivations, and to align our actions with our deeper purpose. This energy, once directed inward, becomes a powerful force for personal growth and transformation. Moreover, silence creates a powerful form of nonverbal communication. When we choose to remain silent, we are often communicating more than words ever could. In moments of silence, our actions, our body language, and our presence speak volumes. The energy we conserve in silence is often felt more profoundly by those around us than any spoken words could convey. In this way, silence becomes a tool for influence, allowing us to project confidence, composure, and clarity. Our presence alone, fueled by the energy we conserve in silence, can have a far-reaching impact on others. In the fast-paced world we live in, it's easy to fall into the trap of believing that constant activity and conversation are necessary for success. However, it is often in the moments of silence, the moments of stillness, that we truly find our strength. Silence allows us to conserve our energy, to gather our focus, and to direct our efforts in a way that brings about lasting results. Instead of scattering our energy in 1,000 directions, we learn to focus it with precision, making every action, every word, every thought count. By practicing silence and conserving our energy, we unlock the potential for powerful, focused action that can transform our lives and the world around us. In today's world, there is often an assumption that to be heard, to be taken seriously, or to have an impact, one must speak loudly, assert themselves at every turn, and ensure their voice is the loudest in any room. This idea is deeply ingrained in many of our social and professional environments, where the loudest, most vocal people are often perceived as the most powerful or influential. However, the reality is far different. True power, true presence is not measured by the volume of your voice or the frequency with which you speak, but by the depth and strength of your presence. Powerful presence comes from within. It is about being fully grounded in who you are, comfortable with your own energy, and not relying on external validation to affirm your worth. When someone is truly present, they don't need to prove anything. Their mere presence commands attention. This power does not come from raising your voice, but from standing in stillness, rooted in your authenticity. It is an inner strength that radiates outward, influencing others without the need for loud words or gestures. Think of individuals who have had a profound impact on the world or in history. Many of them were not known for their loudness or for dominating conversations. In fact, some of the most influential people in history were known for their quiet, composed presence. Their power was derived from the clarity in their words, the depth of their thoughts, and the way they carried themselves, not from how loudly they spoke. When they did speak, their words had a weight to them, not because they shouted, but because they were measured, intentional, and rooted in profound wisdom. Consider the practice of meditation. In meditation, you silence the mind, focusing on the present moment, breathing deeply, and connecting with your inner self. It is through this silence that you find clarity and strength. The more still you are, the more powerful your presence becomes. It is the same in life. When you quiet the noise of the world around you, whether it is through meditation, reflection, or simply stepping back from the constant chatter, you can tap into a deeper, more powerful version of yourself. The more you understand yourself, the more confident you become in your ability to influence, guide, and lead others without the need to raise your voice. True power comes from confidence in who you are and what you stand for. When you are grounded in your own beliefs and values, your presence naturally becomes more powerful. You don't need to dominate conversations or speak loudly to prove your point. Your authenticity shines through, and people are naturally drawn to that authenticity. They recognize that there is something deeper at play, something more substantial than mere words. When you are confident in your own presence, the need for loudness diminishes. Your calm, focused energy is enough to command attention and respect. There is also the aspect of listening. Often, people believe that speaking is the primary form of communication, but listening is just as, if not more, important. By being an active listener, you demonstrate a level of attention and respect for others that is far more impactful than speaking for the sake of hearing your own voice. When you listen deeply, you create an environment where people feel heard and understood. This cultivates trust and allows you to connect with others in ways that go beyond words. Furthermore, a powerful presence is deeply connected to emotional intelligence. It is about being attuned to the energy of the room, understanding the unspoken dynamics, and responding with subtlety and grace. You don't have to be loud to demonstrate emotional intelligence. In fact, the more you understand and manage your own emotions, the more effortlessly you are able to navigate social interactions. Your ability to remain calm, composed, and emotionally aware in any situation enhances your presence and makes you a source of stability for others. Another key element of a powerful presence is non-verbal communication. Your body language, your posture, your eye contact, the way you carry yourself, all of these elements contribute to the energy you project into the world. A person who stands tall with confidence and ease does not need to speak loudly to be noticed. Their presence speaks for them. This quiet confidence comes from a deep sense of self-assurance and a genuine connection to the present moment. When your body language is aligned with your inner state of calm, it creates a magnetic energy that draws people to you. In contrast, those who constantly need to speak loudly or assert themselves may actually undermine their own presence. They are often perceived as insecure or uncertain, constantly seeking attention or validation. Their need to be heard at all times signals a lack of confidence. In truth, The loudest person in the room is not necessarily the most powerful. It is the one who can sit back, listen, and remain composed, who can navigate the room with ease and respond thoughtfully when the moment calls for it. This person understands the true nature of influence. They know that their presence speaks louder than any words could. A powerful presence is not about forcing others to listen. It is about creating a space where people are naturally drawn to your energy, where your words, when they are spoken, are impactful because they are measured, intentional, and rooted in clarity. By cultivating inner confidence and emotional awareness, and by remaining grounded in your authenticity, you create a presence that is felt deeply by others. It is this quiet strength that commands respect and influence. A powerful presence doesn't require loudness. It requires stillness, focus, and the ability to move through the world with intention and grace. Action without words is far more powerful than words without action. In a world where the emphasis is often placed on speaking up, asserting opinions, and being vocal, it can be easy to forget that actions are far more impactful than words alone. Words, while essential for communication, can easily become diluted or meaningless if not backed by action. The true measure of one's intentions, character, and commitment lies not in what is said, but in what is done. Action speaks louder than any speech because it demonstrates tangible results and real intent, whereas words can often remain theoretical, unproven, or even misleading. When we speak, we convey ideas, feelings, and intentions, but words alone are not enough to bring about lasting change or create a meaningful impact. Anyone can talk, but few can walk the path they talk about. Many people promise to do things, yet fail to follow through, leaving behind a trail of unfulfilled commitments. On the other hand, when someone acts without excessive explanation or justification, their actions speak for themselves. There's no need to convince others of your intentions when the results of your actions are evident. People see what you're doing, and that speaks volumes about who you are and what you stand for. Consider the example of leaders who inspire change and action. The most effective leaders do not simply talk about change, they embody it. They demonstrate through their own actions what they believe in and encourage others to follow suit. Their influence is not derived from grand speeches or motivational talks, but from their ability to lead by example. When a leader takes action, whether it's in making a difficult decision, addressing a crisis, or championing a cause, the impact is far greater than any words could have achieved. The results of their actions show others that change is possible, that progress can be made, and that it's not just about talking but doing. In our personal lives, the same principle holds true. We often make promises or talk about things we want to achieve, whether it's in relationships, personal growth, or health. However, until we take action, those words remain just that empty promises. A person may tell their partner they love them, but if their actions do not reflect that love, those words lose their significance. Love is demonstrated through actions, through thoughtful gestures, care, and commitment. A person may talk about wanting to improve their health or reach a personal goal, but unless they take consistent action toward that goal, their words are hollow. The journey from intention to accomplishment requires action, and it is action that validates the words. Moreover, actions often have a ripple effect. When we take action, we inspire others to do the same. Words alone cannot motivate people to take meaningful steps toward change. It's the sight of someone else taking decisive action that creates momentum. Whether it's in a professional setting, a community, or a personal relationship, the act of doing something, of making a move or taking a stand, motivates others to follow. Action creates a sense of possibility. It proves that change is not only necessary but achievable. When people see others taking action and producing results, they are more likely to take action themselves, creating a collective force for progress. Another vital aspect of action is its ability to transcend barriers of language and communication. Words are subject to interpretation, they can be misunderstood or even manipulated, but action, at its core, is universal. Regardless of language, culture, or background, people can recognize and understand what has been done. A kind gesture, a helping hand, a dedicated effort. These actions communicate much more clearly than any words ever could. They transcend the limitations of verbal communication and speak directly to the heart. In this way, actions create a universal language that everyone can understand. Moreover, actions build credibility. Anyone can talk about their beliefs, their values, or their intentions, but what truly builds trust is their ability to follow through with action. People who consistently act in alignment with their words build a reputation for reliability and integrity. On the other hand, those whose actions contradict their words quickly lose credibility. This discrepancy between words and actions erodes trust and creates doubt in others. For this reason, action is the cornerstone of authentic leadership, genuine relationships, and successful endeavors. It is only through action that trust is earned and maintained, and only through consistent action that one's intentions are proven to be real. Action is also a key factor in overcoming fear and hesitation. Often, people spend so much time talking about what they want to do or what they believe in, but they hesitate when it comes time to take the first step. It's easy to get caught up in the planning and talking phase, to stay in the comfort of ideas and intentions. But it is only through action that we break free from fear and uncertainty. Action moves us forward, even when the path is unclear or the outcome uncertain. It is in the act of doing that we learn, grow, and build the confidence needed to keep going. Each step taken, no matter how small, moves us closer to our goal, whereas words alone can leave us stuck in a cycle of planning without progress. Additionally, action has a lasting impact. Words may fade away with time, but actions leave behind a lasting legacy. Think about the people who have shaped history or made significant contributions to society. They are remembered not for their speeches or declarations, but for their actions. Whether it's in the field of social justice, innovation, or service to others, their actions left an indelible mark. Actions create a lasting impression because they speak to the essence of who a person is. Words may be forgotten, but actions endure. Ultimately, action is what brings our words to life. Words without action are mere thoughts, floating in the air without substance. But when we back our words with meaningful action, we breathe life into them, creating real change and tangible results. It is in this alignment between words and actions that true power is found. Action without words is the truest form of power, for it is through action that we demonstrate our commitment, our integrity, and our capacity to make a difference.